Hello everyone, welcome to the Code Brilliance channel, the place where we dive up deep into the world of programming. I am Bharti and today we will have an exciting session lined up for you as we delve into the fundamentals of C programming. In this stream, we will be exploring the basic of C programming, focusing specifically on the data types, variables, constants, and the operators. These concepts form the foundation of any C program, and understanding them is crucial as you embark on your journey to become a proficient C programmer. Whether you are a complete beginner or looking to refresh your knowledge, you are in the right place. We will break down each concept step by step, and by the end of this session, you will have a solid understanding of how to declare a variable, use different data types, work with the constant, and perform the operations in the C. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe the channel, and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any future stream or a tutorial. Now, without any further ado, let's jump into the fascinating world of C programming and explore the data types, variable, constant, and the operators. If you have any question along the way, feel free to drop them into the chat box and I will do my best to address them. In my last video, I have uploaded a session regarding the concept of the C programming and a basic introduction to the C program. Today we will explore a simple C program to print a message hello on the screen, and then we will jump on to the session of data types, operators, keywords, and constant. While writing a program in a C, the first statement always starts with the hash include stdio.h. Then is the void main and a begin. Then a simple message to print hello on a screen. This is the program where we will be just printing a hello message onto the screen. After saving the program by .c extension, execute the program by clicking on the execute option, compile option. After compiling a program, you will be getting certain messages here regarding the compilation of the file. Then to run the program, click on execute and run. So this is a first C program which prints a hello onto the screen. Last session we have seen what is this hash include file. Hash include is a preprocessor directive where it is the compilation stage where all the header files are executed. Then comes the main. This is the entry point to the C program. Unless and until you don't write main, your compiler will not understand anything. Then a begin curly brace. From here, compiler start reading the program. And at the end curly brace, compiler stop reading the program. and in between begin and end, whichever statement we want to be get executed, those statement are put it into the begin and end. Statement to be executed. Here in this we have used one printf statement with a semicolon. So this particular printf statement is the input output statement which is used to print the message. The message to be printed is enclosed in a double quotes. Then more we have seen in the last video that each and every statement in C terminate with the semicolon. Second most important, C is case sensitive, right? Okay. Now today we will be going to the next concept about the C. So instead of straight away learning how to write the C program, we should have a knowledge of which alphabet, which number and which special symbols are used in the C. Then how using this data types, constants and variables as well as the keywords they are constructed, and finally how these are combined to form the instruction. So a group of the instructions will be combined to form one C program, right? So here comes the character set. So before going to the characters set, we will be having, for example, a alphabet, then comes the digits, then comes the special symbol. What are these? These are the, we can say, characters, digits and symbols which are available on your keyboard. When you go for combining them all, we develop a data type, then a constant, then a variable and a keywords. Using this all, we develop the instructions, and using more than one instructions, we develop one C program. Then what is this character set? So the set of characters that may appear in the valid C program is called as character set. So the set includes some graphics and non-graphics characters. Now, what are graphics characters? The graphics character contains alphabets, digits, and special symbol. These are the characters which, when typed, are displayed on the screen. Right? Whereas non-graphics characters when used are not displayed, but their effect is reflected on the screen. Then which are these non-graphics characters? So non-graphics characters contains the white spaces. So these are non-printing characters. So with this instruction, computer takes certain action. So they are always represented by a escape sequence. Escape sequence means what? Which is having a backslash before that character. That is an escape sequence. For example, here there are certain non-graphics characters which are used here. That is a backslash a, which is an audible alert sound or a bell. We get a beep sound when we use this character. Then is a slash b. So this is a backspace. Then is a slash n, that is a new line character. Then comes slash t, which is a horizontal tab. It inserts the horizontal tab, and slash v, which inserts the vertical tab. Now we'll see one by one. First of all, come to the audible bell. Now this escape character, when used, will give you a beep sound. So it represents a certain sequence of characters to be used with the program. So for example, so what it produce? It produce audible beep sound. So this is always encountered in the string within the double quotes. Okay, so for example, let's see example on this. Save the file and compile it first. After compiling, now execute the file, run. So when you run this program, you will get a beep sound onto the screen. So this is an audible. Now I have got the beep sound. Whether you are not getting or not, you can try it on your machine so that you will realize that sound. Then next comes the backspace. Now what is this backspace? It is an escape sequence that represents the backspace character. So it is always we can say used in a string. So it causes the cursor to move back one position. So let's check this example. I have entered the hello and then a slash b and a world. And then we will end the statement. Return 0. Save the file, compile the file, and now run the file. So what happens with this backspace? So here when you see this particular program, it displayed a message HELL and WORLD. So it has inserted one backspace, which is we can say it gives the effect of the backspace key on your keyboard. So here it positions on the O and it removes the O from that particular string, right? Then next comes the slash n. So slash n, it is an escape sequence that inserts new line after this character. So for example, we will try in the same example only. If I insert slash n here, so the statement after slash n will be on the new line. Let's check it. Compile the program first and now run it. See the change. So after slash n, hello and that statement is printed on the new line. That is a new line character, right? Next, we will see a slash t. This slash t is the escape sequence that represent the horizontal tab character. So generally it is used to produce a tabulation or horizontal space in the output. To produce the tabulation or the horizontal space in the output. So we'll check in this example only. So instead of /n, we will insert /t. Save the file, compile the file. Again, it is not giving me the permission. Let me check. So here it inserts a tab space between the statement where /t is inserted, right? After /t is a /v. Again, this /v is the escape sequence that is used to represent the vertical tab character. So it is used to produce vertical spacing in the output. Let us check in this example only. So instead of t, I will insert /v. Why I am not, something is, so here what happens, where /v is inserted, after that the next statement will be on the new line, that is a vertical space here, vertical tab character. So these are the escape characters which are being used in the C. Now comes the keywords. So these are the character sets, that is alphabet, digits and special symbols, which are again divided into the two types, graphics and non-graphics characters. And now we will go to the next, that is a keywords. Now keywords are the words whose meaning is already known to the C compiler. So here the keywords cannot be used as a variable names, right? So in these are also called as reserved words. So in C only 32 keywords are available. For example, auto, then there is a const, then a double, then int, short, This we are going to see afterwards. Then struct, then unsigned, break, continue, for, long, signed, switch, void, case, default, enum, go to, register, size of, type def, volatile, char, do, extern, if, static, union, while, main, printf. So what are these? These are return. These are what inbuilt C statements. So they cannot be used as a variable. So they are having certain restrictions while using in the program. So this we have to keep into the mind that there are 32 keywords which are already known to the C compiler and they cannot be used as a variable name, right? After keywords, then comes the data types. Now, what are data types and why to use this data types first of all? Come to the example that, for example, I want to store a number or I want to store a character or I want to store a fractional number, right? So for example, what is my task here? I want to store the number 4, I want to store the fractional number, suppose 2.3, and I want to store a letter A into the computer memory and I want to display it onto the screen. Now through the program, I want to store this number, but now the question comes, how will you tell your compiler that this 4 I want to store, which is a decimal number, that we know, but as your machine is a binary language or it is a machine, it does not understand anything. So this instructions we have to give to the compiler that I want to store a decimal number, I want to store a fractional number, I want to store a character, or I want to store a number of characters. So this instructions is given to the compiler with the help of a data type. So data type specifies the type of the data that a variable can store, right? So here data type specifies the type of data that a variable can store, right? So now the types here in C, we will be having a basic, then derived, then enumeration, and is a void. So basic data type is also known as a primary data type, and derived is known as a secondary data type. Now when I say a basic data type, so basic data types include int, then a char, then a float, and a double. When I say a derived data type, so derived data type include a array, then a pointer, then a structure, and a union. When I say a enumeration data type, it contains enum, And when I say a void, so void contains a void data type. Right? Now we'll see what are basic data type. Now basic data types are the integer based and a floating point based. So C language support both signed and unsigned literals. So the basic data type are the integer based and floating point based. So the C language supports both the signed and unsigned literals. Now what are literals? We are going to see it in the next session. The memory size of this basic data type may change according to the 32-bit or 64-bit operating system. Right? Now when I want to use, now we will look this data types, that is the integer, character, float and double according to the 32-bit architecture. If I say a 64, it will be some changes into those particular basic data types. So here according to the (32-bit) architecture. So first comes here the integer. So integer can be a signed and unsigned. So this signed integer, it takes 2 byte space in the memory, and if it is a 64-bit, it will take 4 byte in the space in the memory. And the range for this is -3 to 768 plus 3 to 767. When I want to use this assigned integer, we generally call it as a int only. And when I want to use an unsigned integer, it takes again a 2 byte space in the memory, and the size range from 0 to 65,535. This comes to the signed int and unsigned int. Now if I say a short int, now in the short int, signed short int, it takes again a 2 byte space in the memory, and range is -3 to 768 plus 3 to 767. And unsigned short integer, it again takes 2 bytes, and the range is 0 to 65,535. Now this comes with the short integer. Now if I say a long int, long int is a 4 byte. Here integer, if I say, it is a 2 byte. Short int, if I say, again it is a 2 bytes. And long int, if I say, it is a 4 bytes. Now this long integer is having a much more range with it, that is 2,147 483, it is 648 2 plus 2 comma 147 483 647. So here it is having a signed long int with it with the 4 bytes and a unsigned long int with the 4 bytes. Now when I want to use this integer in a program, the keyword for integer is a int. Then the character specification. Character specification means what? When we want to use those particular character or value onto the screen, or when I want to print that data onto the screen, in which format we are going to print it. So the character specification for the integer is %d. For the long int, it is %ld. Right? Then we'll go to the float. Then we'll see a character first. Now when I say a character, so character takes one byte space in the memory, and the range of it is -1 to 128 to plus 127. It is also having a signed char, which is again same 1 byte, and unsigned char, which is again a 1 byte. When I want to use this in a program, unsigned character, it is 0 to 255. So remember this. Then the character keyword when to use in a program is a char. Then the character specification for the character is %c. Then we'll go to the float. When I want to use a float in a program, float takes 4 byte space in the memory. The keyword for this is a float, and a character specification for this is %f, which is always in the double quotes. This is also always in the double quote. Here also. So these character specifications are always enclosed in the double quote, means what? They are used at the time of reading and writing. Now when I say a float, so in a float, after a decimal point, 6 significant place gets printed. That is, for example, if I say a float, for example, this number I stored into the memory 2.3, but when I use or when I write that particular program, that particular number onto the screen, it will be 2.3 and a 6 decimal places after point will be printed here. Then comes the double. Now when I use a double, so double, it takes 8 byte space in the memory. The keyword To use a double is a double keyword, and the character specification for this is %LF, long float, right? So one more here is the long double, which takes the 10 byte space in the memory, right? So these are the primary data types which we will be using into the program. Now after a data type, one more here is the void actually that we will be looking for. So when array pointers and structure it is a second half of the C. So that we are not going to look in this session. So that we will be looking after we will be covering the 50% of the C lectures. Now comes the void. Actually, we are taking void because we are using it in the program. We associate this void with the main. So actually, what is this void data type? So the void data type in a C language it is used to denote the lack of a particular type. So when I say a function, so those particular functions sometimes may return a value, and if I want my particular function not to return any value, at that time we specify a void. So void is a data type which takes 0 byte space in the memory. It returns nothing. So here we associate void with the main so that at the end of the program we does not need to use the return statement. Here I have used the int, so I have to use the return keyword, but in the first example here we have included a void and hence no need of the return statement here. So that is a difference for between or how void can be used in the program. Now after looking those particular data types, consider the example that using this data type we stored number 4 then 4.5 a letter A into the compiler. Now I want to print this onto the screen. So in the memory, not only these numbers are present, but there is a large number of data which is being present into the compiler memory. So specifically, how will we be printing a 4.5 onto the screen? So actually, what is the concept? When we store this data into the memory, we give some naming nomenclature to these positions. Actually, when this data is being stored into the memory, they get some memory address. But this particular memory address is different depending upon the, we can say the address arithmetic or a calculation, internal calculation. So to remember those particular address is very difficult for the human being. So for our convenience, what we do, we actually give a name to those positions. For example, I give a name to this address as A, I give a name to this as B, and I give a name to this as a C. So in a program, anywhere if I use a A, I will be getting a value 4. If I am using a B in a program, I will be getting 4.5. If I use a C in a program, I will be getting a letter A. So what are this A and B and C? ABC are nothing but a nomenclature, a temporary name given to those particular addresses. So those particular temporary names which we give that particular address is known as a variables in the C. So here we will be looking to the variables. So now what are variables here? So in a C, if I say a perfect definition of the variables, so variable is an, we can call it as an entity. A variable is an entity which is used by the program to store the values used in the computation. That is, variable names are the names given to the location in the memory where the different values are stored. Now that particular location can contain a character, can contain a float, can contain an integer and so on. So the location can contain a character, a float, an integer and so on. So the type depends on what? Depends on the type of the data type used to store the value. For example, integer variable can store only integer, character variable can store only character and so on. Okay. Now when we construct these variables, so there is a certain rule which we have to follow. So here C places some restrictions on what can be a variable name. So first is that a variable name is any combination of 8 alphabets. Then digits or underscore. Underscore is this type of symbol onto the screen. Second is that the first character in the variable name should be an alphabet or underscore. For example, if I use a character MNO, it is valid. If I use for example here int MNO, it is valid. Or if I use a character, suppose float underscore MNO, still it is a valid. So first character can be a variable or an underscore. Then no comma or a blank are allowed within the variable names. So we don't have to use a blank. For example, if I say a int MNO, this is wrong. I have to either use MNO or I have to use a underscore to join them. So no blank space. Then no special symbols other than underscore can be used in a variable names. And a variable name should not be a C keyword. So these are certain restrictions to be used when we declare a variable here, right? Now, how to declare this variable? So there is a syntax to declare the variable. So while declaring a variable, first comes the data type, then a variable name and a semicolon. You can also declare multiple variables by using a same signature. Data type, variable name 1, comma, and so on. And last is a semicolon. Now where to declare this variable? So the variables are declared after the begin curly brace at the top of the program. Variables can be also declared outside the main, but now there are certain topics regarding those declarations that we will be discussing in the forthcoming sessions. But meanwhile, remember, variables are declared at the beginning, that is after the begin curly brace. Okay. For example, int suppose gross salary, suppose a float, balance, and so on. Character suppose ch. So these are the declarations when declaring a variable. Okay. Now after declaring the variables, actually there are classes of data here. So a computer program manipulates two kind of data. One is the constant and one is the variable. So a computer program manipulates two kinds of the data. One is the constants and second one is the variables. Okay, variable is what we have seen. Now we will come towards the constant. A constant, as the name suggests, is a fix. So a constant is an entity whose value does not change during the program execution. So the most commonly used constants are the characters, integer, float, and string constant. And so on. Now when to declare this constant, there are certain rules also provided for this. So that we will go. Now first of all, while declaring a constant, how to declare those constants here? So there are two ways how which we can declare a constant in the C. So one is by using a const, keyword, and another one we can use by using a hash define statement. So first of all, we'll see that one. Two ways to define constant. First one, by using a const keyword, and second one by using a hash define statement, or we can call it as a hash defined preprocessor. Now when I want to use a const keyword, the const keyword is used to define a constant in a C programming. So here for example, const float, suppose pi is equal to 3.14. This is one way. And second way is by using an hash define statement. Now when we use this hash define preprocessor statement, it is used to define a constant with a hash define directive. Now as it is an, for example, hash defined pi 3.14. As it is a hash defined, means a hash symbol, so it is declared above the main where all the header files are used. So remember the position where they are declared. Now we'll see a one by one a program on this. First of all, we'll use a declaration part, that is a constant in a program. That's all. Save the file. And run the file. So here we are getting the value 3.14 and 4 times 0. What is happening here? When I declare a particular variable as a float, after decimal point, 6 significant places will be displayed here. So this is how a constant can be declared. Now by using a preprocessor directive. Now when we use the preprocessor directive, at the time here we will declare this variable above the main. Right, so this is how we are getting this. So there are two ways how which we can go for using the constant here. Now we have also seen the variables, we have also seen the constant, and we have also seen a data type also. Okay, now we will be going to a simple program where we will, for example, we will go for the area of circle only, where we will declare a pi also. We will use a variable also, and we will be using a printf statement with this format also. Okay, a program to read the radius of the circle and print area of the circle. Now why to read a area of circle? Area is what? Area of circle is pi into radius into radius. So what is my requirement here? Pi we all know it is a constant, so we will be declaring this variable as a constant. But this radius we want to read from the user. So for reading a value from the user, as likewise printf is used to print the value, this in the same format scanf is used to read a data through the keyboard. We will be having a separate session on the input output statement in the C, but meanwhile for printing the statement we use a printf, and to read a value we use a scanf. Now when I want to use this scanf statement, we will be having a syntax scanf into bracket in double quote character specification, comma, ampersand sign and a variable name. Now character specification means what? If I am using a integer, my character specification will be %d. If I am using a char, my character specification will be %c and so on. Now ampersand sign, this is an address of operator. When we declare a particular variable, for example, suppose int n, and in a scanf, if I used %d, comma, and of n, what is happening here? Whichever value we read from the keyboard will be stored at the address of n. So while reading a value, compulsory in a scanf we use the ampersand sign. If you don't use the ampersand sign, that particular value will not be stored at that particular location. So while reading a value by using a scanf, so don't forget to use a ampersand sign. Okay. Now our job was to print the area of circle. So here the first step is start. Then step 2, let pi is equal to 3.14. Step 3, read the radius into the r. Then step 4, let area is equal to pi into radius into radius. Step 5 will be print the area, and step 6 will be stop. Right? So in the same format we will use the program. So first statement hash include, then we will be using hash define pi 3.14, then void main begin int radius. Then we will be declaring an area as a float. Why? Because when the float is multiplied with the radius, the output will be always a float. So area float, then printf. Right? Now area is equal to pi into radius into radius. We calculated the radius and now we will print it. Printf, a new line character, suppose slash n, comma area. Save the file, compile the file, now run the file. See, when I use a scanf statement, it is asking me enter the radius of circle. If I enter the radius 3, that particular 3 will be get stored into the radius variable. Now it will be calculating the area of circle, it is printing here. This is how a simple program where we declared a variable, we declared a constant, we also used a scanf statement, and we also used a printf statement. Now for some more examples for the homework to you. Accept the 2 integer value and print now for the area of rectangle. One more you can go for. So here to get accept the area of rectangle, perimeter of rectangle. So these are the 5 programs which are the basic C programs, which will introduce yourself with the data types, with the constant, keywords and so on. Try these programs, and in the next session we will be having operators in the C. So we will be starting with the operators in the C, and try this program. If you are having any errors, do message onto the chat box so that I will be there to solve those errors. Right, so with this we will be ending with this session, and do like, share and subscribe the channel so that we will share this knowledge to each and everyone who are in the need of the knowledge. Right, thank you all and bye bye.